there's a fine line between being a hero and being a memory.
Hello and welcome to the Swedish Transformers podcast. My name is Linda and I'm a loyal Autobot.
And as usual, I am Gustav, the deceptive Decepticon.
And Josh, would you like to introduce yourself?
Yeah, my name's Josh Burcham. I am artist and colorist for Transformers comics right now, working on Beast Wars, and I guess that'd make me a Maximal, yeah.
Yeah, we have a Maximal here. Not the first one, I think.
Oh, yeah.
Oh. Eric last time was a Maximal, I think.
Yeah.
Or was he a Predacon? I don't remember.
Maybe he switched around a little bit.
Yeah, maybe he's both. I get that from him.
Yeah, he's a sneaky guy, dude.
He's transmutate now.
Yeah. Well, first things first, Josh. You previously worked on Dreamwave Comics, Transformers, Micromasters, and Transformers War Within the Age of Wrath, which I didn't find. I guess that title got scrapped or something. But
yeah,
you've done some other Transformers too, if I remember right. Would you like to talk about it?
Sure. Yeah. Excuse me. Age of Wrath, like you mentioned, that was at the tail end of Dreamwave, right before they went bankrupt, and so we actually only released like the first 2 issues or something like that, and we had art for like 3 and 4, but we never got to finish it out. But after Dreamwave, I followed the license over to IDW Publishing, and I've been there more or less since the beginning. I did some fill-in stuff on Infiltration, and then I worked on the first Beast Wars, the Gathering series, and I followed them through Stormbringer and All Hail Megatron and all 3 of the Wreckers series and the first season of More Than Meets the Eye, and now the Beast Wars ongoing. Doing full art. Yeah, I've been around.
Have you done anything else but Transformers titles?
Yeah, as a lot with IDW as well. I did work on a Samurai Jack series that was about 12 issues, working with Jim Zub and Andy, who was actually a character designer, I believe, on the original Samurai Jack TV cartoon show for Cartoon Network. So he did all the line work, and I stepped in and did the colors, and that was a super fun project. I also worked on a 24 series with them, Jack Bauer, Kiefer Sutherland, and some other random projects here and there. I did a few pages on a Gem annual, and the Star Trek First Transformers series. I worked on that actually too. So quite a few things I've kind of dipped my toes in. Yeah.
Nice. Yeah. Gustav, I will I can't talk. Gustav,
it will be a great podcast, Linda.
We are such a great podcast. Gustav.
Yeah, I will take some Transformers question for you then. You are the go-to guy when IDW needs a color artist for the Transformers, I guess.
It seems like it sometimes, yeah.
It seems like it, yeah. But then if you have to choose, are you a Decepticon or an Autobot fan? Or in this case, maybe Maximal or Predacon? What do you prefer?
Sure. Yeah, I guess I always gravitated towards the good guys. Not that I didn't like the bad guys. There's select characters that I like on like the Decepticons and Predacons side. But mostly I lean towards the good guys. I try to be a good person myself, and so I'm like, I kind of, I relate to them a little more, but
you're a good guy, but you can always pretend to be a bad guy. That's what's fascinating about the stories.
Maybe that's my thing. Yeah, I'm not going to admit it, of course, but yeah.
Gustav, don't put ideas into his head now.
The most treacherous there is.
Exactly.
Or the meets the eye, as they say.
We'll see about that. We're back.
It is the internet. So let's see. Josh, if you were a Transformers character yourself, who would it be?
Oof. Growing up as a kid, I always really liked Hot Rod myself. Just because he had a really cool alternate mode. Like I was like, oh, I want that car so much. And so yeah, I mean, he was kind of the young guy too, you know, the one with potential and stuff like that. And so I related to him a lot. So yeah, I guess I saw myself as like a Hot Rod. Yeah.
So you liked how he killed Optimus Prime. I get it.
Yeah, right.
Good stuff.
Sorry.
It's fine.
Uh,
We fixed the problem. The problem is fixed.
we fixed the problem's fixed.
Yeah.
And if you could design your own character, it could be alt mode, female, male, fraction, name, everything. What would you go for? What's your dream Transformer?
Right. This actually crossed my mind the other day. I was digging through some papers. I ran across some like really old fan art of mine. Like any other, you know, good Transformers fan. Of course, you make your own characters, and one of them that I came across, his name was Jackknife, and he was kind of like an evil Optimus Prime before. I made him up kind of before there was such thing as an evil Optimus Prime, you know, before the Scourges and the Nemesis Primes and stuff like that. And so yeah, I had him Jackknife. He looked a lot like Optimus, which is probably because I liked Optimus. I was thinking the other day, like, man, I should find some time to kind of revisit that idea, just because I think it's a cool name, you know, Jackknife, and he turns into a big semi truck, and like it just sounds menacing. And so yeah, maybe I will when I get some free time. But yeah, he was one of my OCs.
Oh, nice.
Yeah,
That would be interesting to see in the future.
Yeah, right.
Yeah.
So a little bit of the Shattered Glass variant.
Yeah, kind of. Yeah.
Yeah, that's a new comic book we will see soon. Are you working on that too?
I'm not as far as I know. Yeah, I think they've got their creative team. I wouldn't mind doing a cover or something for them, but I haven't been asked yet. But yeah, that should be coming out pretty soon. A little Shattered Glass miniseries, I think it is. Yeah.
Yeah, I'm looking forward for that. But you are busy with the Beast Wars.
Yeah. It takes up a lot. You know, no complaints.
But how did it come to start with the Transformers? How did you first get in contact with the franchise? As a kid, or was it when you were grown?
Yeah. Yeah. So I was introduced to Transformers when I was super young. Like I was born in '85, and so when I was born, like this show had already been on for like about a year. But from what I hear, my mom got me my first Transformer when I was probably about 2 years old or something like that. And she claims it's Target Master Cup, who I still have.
Wow.
Yeah, so I got him brand new, and she bought me some toys here and there, and would record some episodes on VHS, or would buy some if she saw them. And so I was kind of grew up with that, and I had a VHS recording of the '86 movie that she tried to record that over a Freddy Krueger movie, which it's a story in itself. Trying to watch that as a kid, like accidentally seeing the Freddy Krueger stuff, you're like, oh my gosh, rewind or fast forward, get past the scary stuff. So it was always a test to kind of watch that, but I watched it all the time, constantly. Had it memorized like anybody else, and yeah, so really young, I was interested in them. I kind of fell off a little bit, you know, in like elementary, middle school. It was probably at the tail end of middle school, early high school. That was when Beast Wars was kind of coming up. That I kind of got into it again. The internet started to be a thing too, so I was like, oh, I can find like old G1 stuff that I never had or always wanted, because I always wanted a G1 original Optimus Prime. I had the Power Master one growing up, but it wasn't the original. So I was like, yeah, maybe I'll buy one. Like the idea was so cool to me. Like, oh my gosh, I have this chance to revisit the old stuff that I missed out on when I was super little. And yeah, so the internet came around. Beast Wars was on TV. I think it was after all of that I found like the fan sites. I think TFW was actually one of my first message boards that I ran across, that and like Bot Talk, I think it was, or yeah, something like that. and yeah, I just kind of got into those on the art side too. I had always like drawn and doodled as a tiny kid. Took a couple classes in schools and stuff like that, but nothing super. Whatever. I wasn't super into it. I just kind of did it just because it was something I could do. But yeah, it was kind of that high school age where everything kind of all came together. The fan sites, and I was getting more interested in art and a new interest in Transformers because of Beast Wars that I started posting fan art on the boards. And so I'm part of that kind of like what would you call it, that alma mater, I guess. It is the Don Figueroas, the Casey Collars, the Alex Milnes, Josh Perez's. We all grew up posting fan art on websites like TFW, and so we kind of grew up together, and now we're working with Dreamwave and IDW and stuff on official stuff, which is super cool to see. But
nice.
yeah, that's the gist of kind of my story, I guess.
So living the dream, you're saying?
Yeah, pretty much. I mean, even now, like, it's still like kind of blows my mind. Like, I can walk into a shop or whatever and see something that I worked on, and it's Transformers of all things, which I grew up with, is still just like, it's amazing. I'm super thankful.
And how did you get to work with the Transformers? How did that begin?
Yeah, so like I mentioned, I took a couple classes in school. One of them in like high school was like a graphic design kind of class. It was kind of more like just like media in general. There was we spent like a chunk of the semester learning one particular thing, like graphic arts, and then another thing like designing CAD, and then another section where we would just work on like t-shirt design and stuff like that. And so there was one little part of that where it was comic book work, and we did like a fake panel. I think I still remember like the image. It was like a Santa Claus picture or whatever, and it was like, color this image in Photoshop, because like Photoshop was one of the main programs we were learning. And I was like, oh, this is super neat. Like, this is pretty fun. And it was kind of at that time where I was getting into art, wanting to do fan art. I was drawing fan art, but I had no way of getting it online like these other people were, like my friends were. Like, I didn't have a scanner. Like, we didn't have enough money to buy one either. And so I was like, how else can I get some art out there? And that's when I came into digital coloring. And then this class, like, it's kind of perfect storm all at the same time. I was like, oh, I could do this. And there were other artists posting, like Don Figueroa. He was one of the first, and he was kind of the first guy that I connected with. He was posting artwork out there, but it was all black and white. And so I was like, man, I could take that stuff and I could color it in Photoshop. And so using that class, and then there was one or two other people who were doing that as well, kind of the digital coloring on the boards. And I just kind of reached out and was like, hey, can you teach me like some basics? I'd love to get into this. And so they kind of taught me one of their methods, and I kind of took that, ran with that, and kind of explored Photoshop and just how I could use it to do art and posted it online. And so I was working a lot just coloring for fun, like Don Figueroa's early stuff. And eventually it was actually him who actually got me my gig at IDW at first. I was actually fun story. No, not really, but I was actually turned down at first at IDW because of my association with Dreamwave. They were wanting to get away from that kind of style and look, and so Don was doing all new stuff, kind of a different style for him. He was set to do the Beast Wars series. And they actually asked him who he would like to color it. And he was like, oh, how about my old buddy Josh? And so I had like a month or so before that emailed IDW, and I was like, hey, and they were like, no, we're kind of steering away from that, doing a different sort of thing. And I was like, okay, cool. And then it was like later they emailed me like, hey, you interested in coloring Transformers? And I was like, oh, didn't I just ask? But okay, sure. Yeah. So that's kind of, yeah.
Nice.
Yeah. Oh, that's how it is, as I say.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So,
right.
Comeback is real.
The struggle is real, more like it. And what's your favorite Transformers story you have worked on?
Yeah, I think like the Wrecker stuff and the early more the MCI stuff that I was a part of, they're pretty special to me just because of like how well the fans kind of took to them. Like they really latched onto those series in particular and really kind of made it their own. And it's very special. I appreciate the love that I've seen directed towards the books and evidently towards me and Nick and the rest of the crew. It's been super cool. And so I really appreciate just the opportunity to be a part of those books, and really appreciate all the fans who enjoy them so much. Yeah.
Yeah, we did a whole episode as a special at the Valentine's Day, and was going through the Valentine's Day special. And
Oh yeah.
you did a color there, right?
Did I do? I don't know if I did any work on the covers of those, but I did the
interior art colors.
Yeah. What were their names? Glyph and Tap Out, I think they were.
Yes.
Yeah.
And me and Lena was, whoa, those colors.
Oh yeah. It's rare that I get to work with Jack, and so when they asked me to work on that book and they told me Jack was to be a part of it, they're like, "Are you busy?" And I'm like, "Of course not. I'll drop anything to work with Jack. He's such a great guy." Yeah.
And it's very fantastic. He was the perfect choice for that book, I can say.
Oh, absolutely, yeah.
Yeah.
And we were like, oh, all the baker's milk pink and the flowers, and yeah, it was nice.
Yeah, it's like I can't help it. I just think it looks good.
Yeah, I will come back to you a little in a short while, but we'll unleash Linda for a while here with some artist questions.
Yeah.
While I get some water.
Sure.
So on your free time, I guess you're also drawing a little bit on your free time. So what do you enjoy to draw on your free time?
Yeah, anything that I'm not forced to draw. No, kidding. Yeah, I don't know. I lately, the last I guess year or so, I've just kind of taken to not necessarily redesigning, but kind of reinterpreting the old designs from past series. I did a lot of I called them warm-ups, but I just kind of I'll take Armada Optimus Prime, and because he always looked sort of trashy in the show, the animation wasn't all that great. I thought, and so so I took the design. I'm like, how would I reinterpret that design? And so I spent a lot of time as warm-ups, here's how I would tackle this design and kind of put my own twist on them. And I did most of the cast for Armada. I did some of Energon and yeah, so I really enjoy doing those kind of what ifs designs and just kind of taking a character and be like, okay, what if I put a sort of spin on a theme or whatever, a visual theme? What would Grimlock look like if he was a Viking, kind of a thing? And what if Optimus came to Earth in the 60s? How would the Autobots look if they took on muscle cars and stuff like that instead of 80s cars? And I just like those things. It kind of flexes a little design muscle and keeps me on my toes. So I like to do that sort of thing.
That's very nice. Yeah.
Yeah.
That's interesting. So it's still Transformers on your free time.
Yeah, I mean, they're just always on my mind, for better or worse.
Yeah, nice. Where do you get the inspiration from? Any favorite artists?
Sure. Yeah. For a long time, one of my favorite artists has been Scotty Young. I've seen a lot of people kind of say that there's some similarities, which I super appreciate. He's a favorite of mine. He's a big Marvel artist and writer now. He does a lot of writing for Marvel too. But he's a big influence. Jeff Sr., obviously. I've always heard a lot of comparisons there, which I'm like, awesome. That's what I'm going for.
Yeah.
He's a big influence lately, Derek Wyatt from the Transformers and Bantan and all that stuff. He's a good friend, and he's absolutely an influence. Even Nick Roach, friend, influence as well. I take influence from where I can get it, but I think the big ones is probably Scotty Young and Jeff Sr. are probably the biggest influences on my style. But I appreciate lots of things. There's this book, Middle West, from Image. I think it's wrapped up or whatever, but it's another. Scotty Young wrote it, and an artist, Jorge Corona, did the art for that, and it's just I'm just drawn to stuff that's like super stylized and like really kind of expressive, you know.
Oh,
And
yeah.
that book is definitely it. And so yeah, I tend to gravitate towards those kind of artists.
Yeah. Yeah. So you like it clean and stuff like that, stylized
Yeah,
and
yeah,
clean. Yeah.
yeah.
Nice. Me too.
Nice, yeah.
uh, in general, is there any favorite line artist you like to color for, except for the one you already mentioned?
Yeah.
Your favorite dudes?
Yeah, a lot of the ones that I mean, it's easy to say like everybody I've worked with, of course.
Yeah.
I always have a lot of fun, especially coloring Nick's work. I will admit, I get kind of jealous when I see other people get to color his stuff. I'm like, oh man, I just enjoy it so much. I feel like we really mesh creatively. So I really enjoy working with Nick. I really enjoy working with Jack, even though I don't get to as often. Jack and yeah, everybody.
Yeah.
I don't know if there's like I'm trying to think of like someone who I'd like to work with. I'd love to work with like I mentioned, like Jorge Corona. He's a great artist. He did some really cool stuff on like a Justice League book lately. That I'm like, oh man, that looks so cool. That would be so fun to color. I see all kinds of artists, especially like Twitter is so great at like giving people exposure. Like I run across so many people on there who are so talented. I'm like, man, I wish I could work with all of you. Yeah.
Maybe one
So,
day.
like,
You still have
you
time.
never know. Yeah,
Yeah.
It's great for networking too. So I've actually come across people and projects through Twitter and stuff like that who'd be like, oh, I admire your stuff. They're like, okay, cool, let's do this. And so I'm like, oh, awesome. So yeah, it helps facilitate those chances, which is awesome.
Yeah. So when it comes to working with comics, how much of the environment do you get to decide, like the light, hue, and background color?
Yeah, pretty much all of it.
Yeah, nice.
Yeah, we'll get the script, and it's kind of like suggestive, unless there's like really specific details that need to be called out. But it's kind of uh, like I'll say for Beast Wars, for example, it's like it's the dark side ship and it's daytime, and that's kind of it. And then it's kind of up to me to determine like the camera angle and if like it'll say daytime, but I'll kind of get to decide like, oh, what kind of a day is it? You know, is it nice and sunny, the blue skies, or maybe I'll kind of go a little more suggestive and do kind of like yellow, you know, whatever for the sky color, and so yeah, it's kind of all up to me.
Nice.
Or even in colors and stuff like that. Like there's a lot of free reign. Like even if the artist will draw a scene a certain way, you know, you can still kind of you have that room to kind of to put your own spin on it as well. So I mean, working with IDW and Hasbro on these books, like Beast Wars especially, like I'm kind of surprised. Like there's so much freedom. Like I was honestly surprised they even picked me to be the artist on it because it's so different and not quite the show look, which and so there's been a lot of freedom. I haven't had like hardly any notes working on the series at all either, which is really cool. They just kind of let me be, which is really fun.
But it's always good to give the artist freedom. That's how it gets to be good, actually.
Yeah.
Has there been any situation where they come back to you and they're like, we can't have a purple sky, it has to be blue, or anything like that?
Yeah. I don't know specifically for any environment things, but I do remember working on like the prequel comic for the 2007 movie that came out. I worked on that with Dawn, and they were still deciding like what design they were going for with like some of the characters. And so we were working on early concept art, and actually Dawn drew the whole first issue with one design for Bumblebee that they ended up not using it all. So we had to redraw Bumblebee in the whole comic for page, every panel, and he had to redraw it, and then I had to go back and recolor some of them as well. So it was kind of a challenge to make all that stuff fit and look seamless and on purpose. Like it was that way the whole time. But yeah, that's probably the most extreme example of any big edits that we've had to do. Other than that, it's like You know, like maybe tweak the lighting or the time of day, or the script says it should be this way, and either I misread it or I just missed it. And but it's usually like really small stuff, really super easy stuff to fix.
Yeah. Well, speaking of big mistakes that you have to cover up, what's your worst nightmare scenario when it comes to working with any comic?
Yeah. Gosh. Read like what we did on the prequel comic, that was a pretty big deal. Like luckily it was only just one character, but I can't imagine. I feel like things are kind of set up to where it doesn't get that far. It doesn't get too extreme, you know, like there's approval processes between each stage, between writing and between line art and colors, that big stuff doesn't tend to usually get by like that. Like, oh no, we have to redraw this whole entire scene. Things usually get caught kind of along the way, so it doesn't get to be that big of a problem later on. But yeah, that's probably my biggest thing, is just having to redo stuff. It's always like, I worked on another project. It wasn't Transformers, but it was like edit upon edit upon edit, where they're just like, we want this page like this. No, maybe a little more like this. No, how about this panel a little more like this? And it's just like, I've done this panel like 10 times already. Please stop.
Yeah. Sometimes
kind of worst case scenario.
Yeah, sometimes like people just have to learn to let go, or actually learn to plan.
Yeah.
Like, yeah, mistakes are always there, but sometimes in my opinion, some mistakes are just okay to be there. Like, readers usually don't really notice them, or just don't really care about them. And then
exactly.
like we've already seen a miscolored Optimus Prime and Megatron in the G1 comic books and whatnot, and like it's like, yeah, that's how it is.
Do you ever put in something by yourself in the art?
Oh yeah,
a little,
sure.
you know, what do you
like
call them?
Easter eggs kind of
in
thing.
Easter egg, right?
Yeah.
Oh yeah, I did that a lot, like earlier on, like anytime, like I remember, like calling back to those prequel comics again, like anytime there was like computer screens or whatever. Like I remember one time I put like a screenshot of the TFW message boards on there, or like a search engine would say my name or something like that, and that is so tiny that it's small that it doesn't take people out of the story, but it's like if you look hard enough, you see it. I actually did that in All Hell Megatron 2. There's this squad of soldiers who get like they're alive and then they die the next page because like Rat Bat or whatever like just destroys them. And all the names on the screens are actually the last names of like close friends of mine. So I was like, hey, look, you're in this comic book. Like you're only alive for a page, but you're in it. So little stuff like that, and even on like Beast Wars, like one example comes to mind, like in the recent issue, where the Predacons are locked inside the dark side. They're just kind of hanging out there, waiting for the doors to open. Spoilers, I guess. I don't know if you've read it or anybody. But
Spoilers.
Yes, the Predacons are in it. What?
No.
Yeah, they're just kind of hanging out inside, and it wasn't really specific about like what they were doing, other than like one or two characters, and so it just kind of said in the script like, and Scorponok and Waspinator are hanging out doing something. So I just kind of, wouldn't it be fun if they were like playing cards or something like that, while everyone else is like super serious and like trying to get things happening, like they're just off to the side, like being silly and playing a card game. So I try to throw stuff in like that and kind of embellish where I can and add character. But sometimes there's like good old fashioned Easter eggs too, like I said, just like, throwing my friends in the comic book, that kind of stuff.
Yeah, remember me and Linda next time you do that.
yeah, I'll try. Yeah, for sure. You'll be the first two humans we come across or something in Beast Wars.
Oh yeah, that would be awesome.
You know, like
Don't hold me to that.
cave people.
Yeah, exactly.
That would be beautiful. I love to be a cave human.
And I'm sure, Linda, before you go on, the classic Beast Wars cartoon hasn't aged that well animation-wise.
Right.
I hope you think that your style here with the color will age better than that has.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. That's the hope. I mean, people say that, and I guess it's like rose-colored glasses. Like I'm like, the show still looks good to me. Like I don't know what you guys are talking about, but no, I could see that for sure.
Yeah. Well, it was the first 3D animated TV series, so you have to accept it for what it is.
Yeah, exactly.
And it's still a good story, and the voice actors are really good.
Yeah.
Yes.
Well, speaking of good things, then, what's your favorite project so far?
Gosh, yeah. I feel like that's always like, oh, it's the one I'm working on, but it's kind of the cliche answer, but it really is. Like the Beast Wars in particular, this series, like it's my first go at like a consecutive issues or whatever. Like I've drawn, like most of my work is as a colorist, and so I've only drawn here and there professionally on like some random covers and stuff like that, and maybe an issue kind of randomly here and there. Like I did one issue for BotCon years back, and then I did like part of the Christmas special for IDW, which is just like 10 pages or so. And so I'd never actually done like a side by side, issue by issue, and here I am, like just finished my 6-issue streak, which is the longest, drawing streak that I've ever done. And so it's pretty special to me, just in that regard alone. Not just because I love Beast Wars, but it's kind of like a milestone for me in my personal goals, to draw a series, and so here I am living it out. Yeah, so it's pretty cool.
Enjoy.
Yeah. Oh yeah. I'm definitely.
What do you prefer to color, the Beast Wars characters or usual Transformers?
I don't know if there's really that much a difference, except for like maybe in my mind, but they're both just as fun to color. I think Beast Wars is maybe a little more fun just because they don't show up all that often, those characters. Like everything is very G1 kind of heavy, for a long time. Even in like stuff like Armada and stuff like that, it's very like obviously an iteration of G1. And Beast Wars is kind of hardly ever touched, and those characters specifically, they'll pop up here and there, but so yeah, I find it's like kind of a special treat to work on them, just because they don't show up very often, and obviously they're very special to me because I grew up with them. Like people older than me grew up with G1. Beast Wars was kind of my G1, so yeah, it's really cool to work on those guys for sure.
Nice. Gustav, take it further. I'll leave it to you now.
Okay, so when you're coloring this story, whose stories do you prefer to color? Whose stories are more exciting, you think? Is it or Furman, James Roberts, or who do you prefer? Or is it Eric?
Oh yeah, gosh, man, I don't know that I've really worked with any writer who was like outright like I don't like doing this. There's always fun to be had, like especially working on like recently with like James or anytime Nick would write, or even Eric. I tend to gravitate towards stuff that is like I guess you'll see the common thing like those guys, it particularly is like there's world building and there's also like levity, comedy, but there's also like character, and those three things are kind of like important things to me, and stuff that I like to see in comics or TV shows or movies. Stuff that I gravitate towards is that kind of stuff, and so naturally it's what's most appealing to me to work on. So yeah, it's not just those three artists or writers who I like to work with, but anybody. Like if your story has like character, interesting lore, and all that kind of stuff, and yeah, for sure I'll be drawn to it.
And is there any character you find hard to find the right colors for?
Oh yeah.
Many have been complaining about Shockwave, actually.
Yeah, Shockwave, and like on Beast Wars Megatron, it's like all those purples, purple is a very hard color to do for comics or for print in general, just because the certain colors that the printing processes use, like purple's kind of hard to pull off. And so like it always like, yeah, it looks really cool on my monitor, but sometimes when it comes out, it's like it just kind of dulls those things down a little bit or desaturates them, and so it's like it's not as cool looking as I wanted it to be.
Yeah.
But so you try to come up with workarounds and different ways of trying to, you know, using kind of color theory to kind of pop it out a little more. But yeah, purples are really hard to work with.
I actually usually also had the problem with purple when printing. I don't know why my printer is having that, but every time I have like a strong purple color, it becomes stripy.
Oh, really? Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know why. It's an old printer, obviously, but purples, yeah, by my experience also, it's a really hard color to print out.
It's tricky, for sure.
It is.
I don't buy this at all, people. It's just because the Decepticon logo is purple and you are
Gustav is salty now.
You're terrible people.
Yeah, we're just anti-Decepticon.
Exactly.
Yeah.
The secret's out,
what's your favorite color then? Both to paint with and your favorite everyday color.
Yeah, I really like there's certain colors that are like super fun to work with. Like I find like blues are really cool to work with. I like using blues and kind of the different like shades that you can get. Blues and greens are kind of interesting to work with. Yeah, it sounds weird. It's like, how can you have a favorite? But it's like, I guess it's hard to quantify if you're not like actually painting with it or whatever. But like with digital colors, yeah, blues are really fun for some reason. No.
50 Shades of Blue.
Yeah, exactly.
So it's not Baker's Miller Pink then.
Right.
Oh yeah, RC is Baker's Miller Pink. I don't know if she's actually officially Baker's Miller Pink tone, but I think she looks like Baker's Miller Pink, and the color also has a backstory. It's in another podcast, so I'll just leave it there. Google it and you'll know.
It's a standing joke here in the podcast.
Yeah.
Okay.
Everything is Baker's Miller Pink now.
I'm in on the joke for sure. Yeah.
Yeah.
Because taking on that, the joke. So I see on your Wikipedia page that you're a really humble guy. It says he admits that he is super awesome. How does that come to be?
I don't know, honestly. I see that and I'm like, who wrote this? Who wrote this article? I want to know.
You?
I know a couple of people who contribute to the wiki and stuff like that. So I don't know who exactly it is, but yeah. Absolutely, I'm a humble guy for sure. Definitely.
And super awesome.
Yeah, I would never say that. You can say that. That's fine. I'll agree with you, but
I agree.
Appreciate it.
Exactly. Let's see here. Are there any upcoming projects except Beast War you can discuss?
Yeah, I haven't really we haven't really talked about anything after Beast Wars. Like right now, we're just kind of writing it out and kind of seeing how long we can go with the series. So other than that, like Beast Wars kind of takes up a lot of my time. I'll do some random covers here and there, like for the main series or something like that. But mostly it's just I'm kind of like laser focused on like just making sure we're staying on time and getting books out when they should be for Beast Wars. So that's kind of my focus right now.
When coloring the Transformers characters, do you use toys at all when you do this?
Oh, for sure. I mean, I have like a ton of them, like hundreds of them. I don't know if I don't usually like pull one down and use it for reference like that kind of a thing, but I'll definitely like if I'm coloring a character that I don't really work with too often, like Google Images is my best friend, you know, just kind of pulling them up and using that for reference for sure. So yeah, I absolutely use them for reference. I mean, you kind of have to on these characters, like uh, on any licensed, project that you're working on, like the IP holders make sure that they look like they're who they're supposed to be. So you definitely want to make sure, like, yes, of course, Superman's going to be red and blue. He wouldn't be any other color otherwise.
Yeah.
Otherwise they'll just make you change it anyways.
Yeah. Do you have any more artist question, Linda?
Just one, I think. I don't know how to explain it, so I'll do my best.
Linda gets so upset when I steal her question, so I'm sure she's done before I ask now.
Do you use any color codes on characters to get them in the exact right color?
Oh yeah, not specifically, but you definitely do see that sort of thing. Like I see it in more animation and stuff like that when there's more artists working on the thing. Like you have to make sure everyone uses the same color. So I don't specifically really do. Like sometimes we'll do like character, like a design sheet. Like this is what the character looks like. These are their colors. Generally, like this part is red, this part's yellow, that kind of a thing. It's never really been super specific. Like it must be the exact shade, otherwise it won't get approved, kind of a thing.
Yeah.
I guess, yeah, like if it was like an animation sort of thing and stuff was changing hands so much that you'd want to be more precise. But yeah, it's not something I've really encountered myself in comics.
Taking the Transformers franchise new of whole, we are fans of the Transformers, everybody are friends here. If there's anything you feel is wrong with the franchise, with the stories, you can change one thing to make it better. What would it be?
Oof, yeah, that's the question, isn't it? Oh man, I don't know. If I could change one thing, probably the biggest thing that I would not necessarily change, but want like tight oversight on is basically like the movies and stuff like that, and like the TV shows, because I think those are so much the face of the brand as a whole. Like the comics and stuff like that are kind of niche, but like the movies, like those are $1 billion movies that they make, and so I mean, I think it's safe to say not everybody's the biggest fan of like the story in all of those movies, myself included. So that's probably the one thing I really want to tighten down on, is to really like, and I think they did a lot better on in like the Bumblebee movie, and hopefully on the new movie that's coming out, the
Beast.
the Beast movie, yeah. See how that goes. But yeah, it's to try to focus on like what people actually like, and that was always my biggest problem with like the Bay movies. Is like every movie, the Transformers are somehow secretly connected with some kind of past historical event, and like, man, it's just getting more like, I could buy it in the first couple movies, but it's like,
it's just
like,
stretching it more and more.
Yeah, you guys are inventing reasons like here that don't make sense anymore, and I can't follow it. It just becomes more and more unbelievable. So yeah, I would probably consider, like in all things, like we just kind of, and I think we do parts of it, like the comics in particular, like to stay focused on like what everybody loves about Transformers, what drew people to them in the first place, which is character and like action and stuff like that. But yeah, that's probably the main thing, is kind of tighten down, like making sure it sticks to the core stuff, which I'm not saying it doesn't all the time, but
Gustav would be very happy if the Michael Bay movies would be eliminated.
The first one is okay. The first one
is okay, yeah. But
we were talking about the third one now.
The third one, Dark Side of the Moon.
And we were like, what's this plot about? When this become the player? It's Linda's just happy because she gets to see Tortor's butt all the time.
Oh yeah.
I'm just happy to see you suffer, Gustav. That's all.
Yeah.
I guess
I can enjoy those to a certain extent, but it's like if you try to enjoy them like a serious, like, or like you think of like a series or a TV show, it's like it's got a good story, and it's like you can't
Yeah.
You can't do the same with the Michael Bay movies because they do what they want in the movie.
Yeah, you really have to forget all the rest what happened before. Just forget it and
Yeah,
just watch this
exactly.
movie. It's not really a what do you call it? Trilogy?
Yeah,
No,
trilogy.
it's 5, I think.
It's 5
Yeah.
now, yeah, so
But we hope that Bumblebee and the new Beast Wars era will bring us satisfaction.
Yeah, same here. I'm really curious to see how this new one's gonna be. Yeah.
Yeah, me too. And we are always complaining about Michael Bay, but I think the 86 movie gets off the hook really easy because we complaining about Michael Bay, but they killed off like every beloved character in front of our eyes on the big screen, and we just do that. Yeah,
sure,
Right.
no problem.
no problem at all. The PTSD is there.
Yeah.
And talking about continuities, you're stranded on a desert island. You can just watch one thing, bring one thing. What continuity would you have with you? We will bring you back later. Don't worry.
Okay, that's good. I was like, yeah, I'll bring an airplane. Yeah. Geez, I don't know. I'd probably bring something electronic just to keep me busy, like a laptop or something like that. Yeah.
Yeah, but what Transformers continuity would you bring?
Oh,
The G1,
yeah.
the Beast Wars, or what would you bring?
I see what you mean. Yeah, I was thinking like anything. Yeah. Oof,
Anything
laptop,
too.
of course. How else can you
yeah,
watch it?
yeah. I don't know. I would definitely bring like my Beast Wars. I don't know. That's probably like I know it's solid and I love it. You know, it won't let me down.
Beautiful.
Exactly.
Yeah.
We'll pick you up in a week.
Yeah, I would say sounds good. Yeah.
Give you some food too from day to day. We'll see.
Yeah, you know, some snacks here and there. Yeah.
Yeah, here and there. Next time, we will hope that it's Gary Schalk we will have as a guest, the voice of Optimus Primal.
Yeah.
And Optimus Prime in some, who sadly isn't going to be the voice of Optimus Primal in the new movie.
Right.
But what can you do?
Yeah.
And we have a tradition here that the previous guest should ask the next guest a question.
Oh,
What would
okay.
you like to ask him?
I would ask Gary, how have you been enjoying the new Beast Wars comic book? Yeah. And if
Do you think
haven't
it's
read
pretty?
it yet, yeah, let me know. I'll get you a copy. Yeah.
Yeah. Nice.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And we're moving a little bit to the end of the podcast here. So we have yet another tradition that Linda will introduce you to.
Oh, we're there now. Yes, so at the beginning of every podcast, there is a quote that is being played out or acted out. Usually that quote is a Linda quote, but since we have you as a guest, I will leave my quote to you. So pick a quote from the Transformers and act it out in any way you want.
Gosh, the one that always, like, I guess immediately comes to mind is one from Optimus and like G1. There's a fine line between being a hero and being a memory. Like that's always stuck with me. Yeah, it's a good one.
Yeah,
it's a good hero.
I think it's from the G1, the pilot-free episodes. I think he
Yeah,
says that to Ironhide.
Yeah.
Right.
Do you have anything you want to commercialize about yourself?
Yeah. I guess if you haven't been reading the books, go and pick out a copy of Beast Wars. That'd be awesome. We'll try and run this series for as long as we can, as long as there's people reading. Yeah, you can follow me on my Twitter or anything like that. If you want to stay in touch with like what I'm working on and see what I'm posting, art and new art and teases and previews and I also break down like the process of some of my pages and stuff like that, from like script to final art, which is kind of neat. So yeah, it's at JC Burcham. I don't know if there'll be a link anywhere, but that's you can find me there. And yeah, that's about it for now.
Yeah.
Do you
have
do
Facebook?
commissions?
I haven't advertised for any commissions, but occasionally, like if you catch me at the right moment, my email's on my page and stuff like that. You can get a hold of me and kind of see where I'm at, and I'll try to squeeze it in. The best chance is like if you go to a convention, like I'm trying to be at TFCon Baltimore this fall. So if you come visit me at a convention, for sure you can absolutely pick up a sketch or an autograph or whatever at one of those, for sure.
Beautiful. Yeah.
And that brings us to our next question. When will we see you in Sweden?
Yeah, I know. It's that's the question, right? I get asked all the time, like, when am I going to go to, like at the time it was Auto Assembly, but TF Nation and stuff like that. And I'd love to. It's definitely my goal, but I just haven't made any concrete plans to yet. But yeah, I would absolutely love to see you guys. Sure.
One day.
Yeah.
Maybe. We have the Transformers retcon here in Sweden, where we take guests from each time, except for now during Corona.
Yeah,
But yeah.
Last time it was Simon Furman and Jack Lawrence.
In 2019, yeah.
I think I remember that, yeah.
Yeah.
And then I just have to say, as I always say in the end of the podcast, till all are one.
May your lusters never dull and your wires never cross.
Hey.
And bye.
Yeah.